Whether you're left or right brained, whether you're familiar with the intricacies of accounting or don't know an asset from a liability, a credit from a debit, the QuickBooks interface is designed to be intuitive and efficient for everyone. When we have a company file open, it's literally easy to see how simple and almost self guided QuickBooks can be. But in order to do that, we need to launch QuickBooks and get that company file open. Most of us are going to probably launch QuickBooks by using an icon on the desktop or the taskbar or on our start screen. Regardless, the process is basically going to be the same. We'll either click or tap or double click an icon or a tile to get started. In this case, we're just going to double click the QuickBooks Pro 2015 icon that we have on the desktop. It can sometimes take a few seconds or what seems longer for QuickBooks to actually launch. If it's the first time that you've ever used the software, you may see this Let's Get Your Business Set Up Quickly window, and that's okay. But sometimes it's confusing because it looks like you're being forced to do something. You're actually not. If you take a look at the bottom of the screen, there's an Other Options drop-down. This is the one that we're going to use. We're going to tell QuickBooks that we want to open an existing file. That dismisses that window and gives us the chance to select the company file. We are interested in opening a regular company file. We do not need to restore from a backup, and we don't need to restore from a portable file. So we'll leave the default selected, and we'll click or tap on Next. This will display a traditional open window. And if you have your file, you can navigate to where that file is located. If not, go ahead and just click Cancel. For our purposes and for this series, we're going to be using a sample company file. The reason is very simple. QuickBooks files can be very complex. We need to have a variety of vendors, customers, employees, and transactions all included. Instead of creating that from scratch, which could be very time-consuming and difficult, we're going to use the sample file that comes with QuickBooks. The good news is that if you have the QuickBooks software, you have access to this file as well. The better news is you can use this file to kind of play with QuickBooks without worrying about messing up your own company books. So in order to open the sample file, from the window that appears, it says No Company File is Open. We're going to move to the bottom of the screen, and where it says Open a Sample File, we're going to choose a product-based business. The main difference here is a product-based business is going to have inventory items, which we want to work with throughout the series, whereas a service-based business would not have products and services, and therefore some of the things we want to look at, like how to order from vendors, would not be as available. So we'll give a quick click or tap to Sample Product-Based Business. We will see a warning message that tells us we're opening a sample file. It's okay to practice with, but they just want you to know you should not use this as your company file because obviously it already has information in it that is absolutely not relevant to your business. Also notice another important piece of information as we work, that the default date is automatically set to December 15th, 2019. Just keep that in the back of our minds as we're looking at things, because this will show up as the default date as we're entering transactions, looking at calendars, and a variety of other activities. All we have to do is click or tap OK. It may take several seconds or even up to a minute for QuickBooks to actually load the sample file. It is a big file with a lot of information in it. Of course, if you're using your own company file, then none of that prerequisite stuff would have happened. You simply would have navigated to your file and opened it up. But finally, we get to see the wonderful QuickBooks interface. Now, this interface has actually remained fairly constant since about 2006 through 2012, and then we saw some changes in the 2013 version. A couple of things happened, and if you're used to those older versions, some of this may be new. What we want to do is focus on some of these main features. Like most Windows applications, we do have a traditional menu bar with menu options like File. And as we'd expect, we have the ability to create new files, open existing files, back things up, and a variety of other types of things that have to do with the file itself. Of course, there's an Edit and a View menu, and then things that get into the QuickBooks specifics that we'll be working with. Things like lists, the company, our customers, our vendors, our employees, the banking information, as well as a variety of reports. You'll notice as we look at a variety of these options that there is the word center after many of them. For example, we have a report center. We have an employee center, a vendor center, and a customer center. By selecting any of these options, we get to see screens that give us kind of an overview and a flow chart of how to work with those particular aspects of our company business. If this is a new installation of QuickBooks, you will also notice kind of a nice helpful feature. They've added some little pop ups that try to show you the new features. These can be very informational and informative, and if you want to get rid of them, or when you're ready to get rid of them, simply click anywhere on the screen and they will disappear. Don't forget to look all the way over on the far right side of the screen. As you work with QuickBooks, this is where you can see if you have any alerts or reminders that need your attention. Now, on the left side of the screen, we see a wonderful panel that gives us a lot of helpful tools. First of all, we can search for content quickly by simply clicking and typing and then pressing the Enter key or clicking on the magnifying glass. This will help us find content much more quickly than possibly searching through any variety of centers and lists. Below, we have a variety of categories. Currently, we're reminded that we're using a sample company file, and it gives us the option to create a new company file. That, of course, will go away when we're no longer using the sample file. The categories down below can be expanded and collapsed to show us the parts of QuickBooks that we're most interested in. One of the most important, and probably the one we'll use most often, is the option to go home. This is found under My Shortcuts. The home page has been improved in this version, and it actually has two parts. At the top left, we see that there's a Home Page tab, as well as something called Insights. The Insights tab gives us kind of an overview of the health of our company with some key metrics. It's similar to the company snapshot that you might be familiar with from prior versions. The company snapshot is still available, by the way, but Insights is easier to use, I think. We can modify what displays here by moving all the way over to the right and clicking or tapping on the gear icon. We can also refresh it if other people are working in the file at the same time, and we can even print this, which may be useful to show to managers or to have discussions with people on our staff. In addition to this new Insights tab, of course, we have the traditional home page, which has been around for quite a while, but is also improved in QuickBooks. If we take a really close look, what I love about this is it actually shows us a flowchart of business and sales processes. This is great for people who don't know a lot about accounting, who may be new to business, or who just want to be reminded of things that we need to make sure that we're doing. Now, of course, we'll be covering all of this in detail, but as an example, let's take a look at how we would work with customers. We can see the customers section right about the middle of the screen. We can see that depending on our business, we may start with an estimate or a quote. From that, we would hopefully create an invoice, and then depending on our sales process, we would go over and receive payments, work with statements, possibly work with things like finance and statement charges, possibly enter time, and all of the other things that are associated with sales and customers in a simple or a complex business. While this may seem a little overwhelming at the moment, remember, if you don't use any of these features, you simply don't need to worry about it. But it does remind us of a process and help us get into good habits. What may not be readily obvious is that QuickBooks has done a lot in the last couple of versions to add cleaner icons, clearer fonts, icons that are emphasized as we roll over them by putting the boxes over them, making things a little bit easier to work with and more intuitive. You may also notice that as you move over particular items, our mouse pointer turns into the link finger, which we know means we can simply click to access that particular item. Each one of these centers, or in this case the home page, is a window, and they can be closed using the minimize, maximize, and close buttons that we're used to using on traditional windows. When we close the home page, we notice that earlier we accessed the Customer Center, and therefore that window is still open. It can also be closed in the same way. Now, if you like to keep things cleaned up, know that the navigation bar on the left can be collapsed. There's a left pointing arrow that collapses it down, and we can still see all of our icons for those groups, like My Shortcuts, Balances, and even Favorite Reports, even though the bar is collapsed. To bring it back up, we simply move to the top left of the screen and click the right-facing arrow. We've taken a look at some of the shortcuts under My Shortcuts, like the home page. We also accessed the Customer Center by using the menu. They all do the same thing, so it's just personal preference on how you like to work. And know that as you click on different categories, they will expand and collapse out, including things like viewing balances that gives us quick and easy views of our bank and account balances without having to actually open registers. All of this is designed to save space, and that can be important, especially if you're working on mobile devices, which a lot of people are doing these days, doing business on the run or on the go, and not always sitting at a desktop computer anymore. Let's go ahead and go back to kind of the beginning by clicking or tapping on My Shortcuts and then displaying our home screen. We'll be getting intimately familiar with the centers and specific features QuickBooks offers. But for now, we know that the interface offers a variety of options for accessing and working with QuickBooks. You'll find one or two of them that you prefer, and whichever way works is just fine. QuickBooks is designed to be easy to use and navigate, regardless of our technical accounting knowledge, which is one of the reasons it's preferred by both amateurs and professionals alike.